Here are 5 basic tips and tricks I wish I knew about threat assessment when I first started playing Magic. Hello, my name is Xspi, and in this video I'm going to share 5 basic tips and tricks to help improve your own threat assessment at the table. But first, why is threat assessment so important? Winning is obviously the goal of the game, but you can't win if someone else wins first. Most target opponent effects or even combat attacks are going to be uneven in a 4-player game. Cards like Duress, Deadly Rollick, and Counterspell have to be used on the right player in order to increase your chances of winning. In this video, I'll cover the basics with 5 easy tips and tricks so that you can make the right plays when you're at the table. Onboard presence is the most obvious aspect of threat assessment. The player with the biggest board or the most threatening card in play is probably the threat, yet other stuff is commonly overlooked. I have 2 major tips for you. The first is to double check known information. Sometimes the threat isn't on the field, but in a graveyard, exile, or even a card someone tutored a few turns ago. Someone casting in a tomb for Razketh is probably up to no good, even if his board is just a bunch of 1/1 skeletons. My second tip is to slow down and take a look at the whole field. So many mistakes are made when someone overlooks a crucial card or a card interaction. It can be especially easy to overlook something like a Propaganda or a Captain Ranger of Eos in a 4-player game. It makes it even harder if everyone has massive board states, so just make sure to take your time. Obviously, not everything requires a mental note, but doing a thorough scan of the board is always beneficial, especially before big plays. In addition, you'll also get quicker at spotting threats with time and practice, so start practicing. Probably the second most important aspect of threat assessment in my opinion is cards in hand. People often underestimate cards in hand because we don't know what it is. It could be 5 lands or it could be a game-winning combo. It's hard to guess what someone has in their hands because this isn't Texas Hold'em with a standardized deck, and I'm also not a professional poker player. But the more cards someone has in their hand, the more likely they are to have responses and more impactful turns than someone with less or no cards in hand. Green players are often considered a threat because they can have a big and fast board presence, but they also have the downside of not having many good draw engines. Even if a green player has the biggest board presence, if they played all their cards, then they've played all their cards. There's no guessing what's going to happen on their side of the table, it's essentially all written out. Players with a full hand might have a smaller board presence, but they could be just as threatening because they're going to have a more impactful turn. Don't be afraid to ask the table how many cards everyone has in hand. Asking for cards is a perfectly normal thing to do in a commander game, and your opponents also can't withhold that information from you either. I think something people often overlook is untapped mana. Now, being a blue player myself, I'm constantly looking at untapped mana, but for non-blue players and especially new players, recognizing when someone might have a response is extremely important. If you're going to make a big play, knowing how much untapped mana is on the board is easy because it's also known information. Yes, someone could be hiding a Force of Will, but we can only guess that based on cards in hand. If someone has a suspicious amount of untapped mana and a suspicious amount of cards in hand, then they probably will have some sort of response. In which case, it may be better to play passively or try to bait out the removal instead. I found that very rarely do people bluff in a commander game of Magic. If something seems suspicious, it probably is. Even if the blue player doesn't immediately do anything with his mana, it doesn't mean he wasn't planning to, and the counterspell may just fire off at a more crucial time later in the game. This doesn't apply to every table because not every table is going to be running tutors, but card tutors are one of the most powerful effects in the game. Whenever someone tutors for something, whether it's revealed or not, remember that it is probably the best card they can get, the best card in their deck, or the best card with the current board state. Magic games always have lots of moving pieces, and tutors are one of, if not the most flexible effect you can have. A player that tutors should be noted. Oftentimes, I feel like tutors are overlooked because they're deceivingly unthreatening. Tutors don't build board presence, but tutors are a way to win. And if you remember that, then you'll start playing better, and know to target the player that tutors. My last tip I have for you guys is to try and recognize combo pieces. It can be hard to spot combo pieces if you've never played them or seen them before, and it kind of comes with experience. But you can also scroll through EDH Rec and look at various combos in your free time. Some cards just scream combo. Clock of Omens, Food Chain, Walking Ballista, Hullbreaker Horror are all cards that just shout combo potential. Most people that play these cards have some sort of infinite combo that will end the game if not stopped. Even if you don't know the combo, recognizing that a card is deceivingly bad could save you from losing later on in the game. Combine that with tip number 4, a player that played a Food Chain and also tutored is likely tutoring for his combo piece. Even if he has nothing else on board, he's going to be more threatening than a player who already has a large board presence with no cards in hand. If a player who has an extremely optimized deck is all of a sudden playing a card that does nothing by itself, it's probably a combo piece, so don't just overlook a piece that just seems boring by itself. Threat assessment is honestly really hard, and I made a lot of mistakes when I first started playing, especially in a 4-player format. Hopefully, these tips and tricks will make it easier and more manageable to identify and remove the threat next time you're playing. I know it seems like a lot, but you'll get better with more practice. The best Magic players didn't become great overnight, they became great with years and years of practice. Don't beat yourself up if you play to move on the wrong card, just make sure to not make the same mistake again and you're already improving. One quick last review, make sure to look at your opponent's entire board presence, keep track of your opponent's cards in hand, keep track of your opponent's untapped mana, keep track of the amount of times they tutored, and try to spot suspicious combo pieces. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any more tips and tricks in the comments. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe and like if you found this video useful. Adios, until I see you next time.